This is Marco Spoon with the Quiet Storm.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to all y'all Texas 101 Jams listeners on this beautiful, somewhat rainy Sunday, but the weather's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's not cold like it was yesterday.
It's not foggy.
It's foggy.
Supposed to clear up to 71.
A lot of fog. This is the Love Doctor, and I am the co-host for the Realist Real Talk radio show with the Real Talk Realtor, Miss
Shanisha Greer.
Okay, how you doing this morning?
I'm fine. How was your Valentine?
Oh, it was cool. I was solo.
Yeah, me too.
I took myself out to eat and everything, so it was straight. No complaints.
No complaints here either. I was solo in my bed watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how was Vegas?
Oh, it was fun. It was really fun. I was drained when I got back.
Drained, huh?
Yes, I was drained.
And yes, I'm gonna put you on blast. To all of my Facebook viewers and all of you listeners on the Texas 101 Jams station that are listening in, we have a young lady here, a young black lady here, who bumped into somebody.
Oh, yes.
And had no idea who they bumped into, and I'm just ashamed that I'm not ashamed. I'm astonished that she didn't know who was that you bumped into again, that you didn't know who they were.
Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Reverend who? Reverend who?
Jesse
Say it louder
Jackson.
for the people in the back. How you running to Jesse Jackson and don't know who Jesse Jackson is?
I'm sorry, I don't watch TV. I don't watch politics. I watch cartoons and horror movies.
Jesse Jackson has been, well, I'm not going to call him a pillar of the black community, but he's kind of been a thorn in the black community side since we were kids. I knew who Jesse Jackson was when I was in elementary. How do you not know who Jesse Jackson is?
I don't know who most celebrities are. I'm sorry.
It's like telling me you don't know who Dwayne The Rock Johnson is.
Well, I bet you know him.
Yeah. Now, if I was to see him in person, I probably wouldn't know who he was.
I doubt that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That's somebody you gonna know.
You gonna know. That's a big boy.
You gonna know who he is. You see him in person, but just Jesse Jackson. You know who Obama is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And Michelle.
Al Sharpton.
Yeah, yeah.
How you know Al Sharpton and don't know Jesse Jackson?
Because he wears hair funny.
Jesse Jackson be slicked and curled up.
Yeah, you do.
Oh man.
He has a nice braid of hair.
Oh man, you got to lose a few cool points for that one. I'm sorry.
I'll take it.
I'm sorry. How you not know who Jesse Jackson is? Well, anyway, glad you had a nice trip. Glad you made it back safely from Vegas. I guess you didn't hit big because you're here.
No, I lost $15 and I quit. I'm not a big gambler.
Okay.
And I lost that 15 real fast on the penny machine.
You played. How much did you have to put in there
I
to
put
play?
in.
I'm saying to play a game. Was it a penny or was it?
No, I think it was a minimum of 25 cents per game.
A quarter.
It's
A quarter on the penny machine,
Mm-hmm.
but you had to play at least 25. You had to bet at least 25 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't bad.
My $15 went too fast.
You,
got
you
free
keep
drinks
hitting
out of
that.
that,
You
though.
keep hitting that button fast. It's gonna go fast.
Yeah.
Hit it slowly. Hit it. Look around a little bit. Wave at some people. Hit it again.
Wave at the bartender that comes by and gives you free drinks or
Yeah,
whatever you
you're
want.
supposed to not just boop boop.
You
But
know.
steady pushing the button.
If you smoke, light up a cigarette.
You gotta stretch it out.
Nah, I lost it pretty fast.
You know.
But you had fun, right?
Yeah, I had fun.
You had fun playing. Okay. All right. That's cool. Well, today we have a guest in the studio today.
David, introduce yourself.
David, how you guys doing out there? Mr. Roberson, David Roberson.
Mr. David Robeson. That's
Tell us a little bit about yourself, David.
Man, I mean that's a lot. 26.
a little closer to it.
Yeah, that's a lot. 26, young African American male, entrepreneur. Yeah. I mean,
Not a man of many words.
Yes.
once I get to rolling, you can't shut me up. But like the beginning parts of it, it's a little difficult for me. It's always been that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whenever someone's like, introduce yourself, I'm like, it's a lot. Where do we start?
Right.
What do you
want
want
to
to know?
Foundation.
Yes. So at some point in time, my plan after I aged out of the foster care system was to, at 40, be in a position to start a foundation to assist foster kids in transitioning smoothly from the foster system into society.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna pause right there. Let's back up.
Mm-hmm.
You said for those who might not have caught that, you said you were a part of the foster care system.
Yes, well, it's not past tense because I technically am still the way they look at it. I'm a former ward of the state, former foster child. Was born into the system, aged out the system, and my whole plan, especially once I aged out of the system, seeing how the system operated, was to at 40 be in a position to use my knowledge of it to assist kids aging out of the system into transitioning.
Aging out of the system. What is that? Cause
you turn 18 and now you're classified as an adult and it's time for you to be a big woman, a big man and do adult things.
So are you still, cause this is actually the first time I'm hearing about this.
No,
even talking to somebody that's
So if I'm talking
been in the system
yeah.
for, you say you were born into it.
Yeah.
So aging out of the system at 18,
or once you graduate high school.
once you graduate high school, what happened? Like what happens as far as the system is concerned? Do they are you cut off or what
They
happens?
try to I'm not gonna say it's a flawed system, it's just a system that doesn't have a lot of resources. So they try to assist you in finding employment, college, housing, things of that nature, but it's so many kids that are overlooked because there's not enough people that just actually care, so some kids when they turn 18, they're just SOL, they get out and they're homeless, or they turn to the military, or they turn to a life of crime, or they turn to both,
So at 18, they pretty much
sayonara, bye-bye,
just
deuces,
jump,
if
get
you,
your stuff and
if you don't have a caseworker who is actually actively doing his or her job, because caseworkers are so overworked that it's you're one of those kids get overlooked, and it's sayonara, you're 18, and if you don't have a foster family who is who actually actively cares about you, at 18 they don't get paid for you no more. You're not a paycheck anymore, so why should I keep you under my roof if you're not going to contribute to putting food on the table and bills, when I can bring another foster kid in because you're 18, I can kick you out and bring one in to replace you.
And that happens.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
So they just put the 18-year-olds out.
So you got
out
two
the
kinds of
house.
foster parents. You got the ones that do it for the money, and you got the ones that do it for the love.
Right.
That's about it. It's one of those cut
How
and
much
dry.
does that cost to be a foster parent?
It doesn't cost anything.
What do you mean? What do they get paid?
Yeah, where they get paid.
It depends on the level of the child.
Oh, okay, so there's
So,
different levels.
Yeah, there's different levels. From my understanding, now it may have changed. It's been a while since I've been in it. I got out in 2010, 2011, so 2020, so it's been about a decade since I've been out. So, bylaws and things may have changed, the way they structure and operate may have changed. I know my foster parent told me that they were paid $1,500 every 1st and 15th.
Oh, so that's
For my-
$3,000,
yeah.
okay.
For my caseload.
1,500 every 1st and 15th.
Yeah, that's what was explained to me from my parents. Or my parents.
3,000. So basically 3,000.
Yeah,
A
$3 a
month.
month. Yeah.
Per child.
Well, not per child. So as I said, it depends on the level that child is on.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the case level. If that child is a really good kid, you know, no problems in school, we'll just use a number system. He's a level 1.
Okay.
So it's a little bit less because I mean, you're not taking money, you know, you're not spending money because you're out of work. For myself, they classified me as ADHD, ADD, and ED, emotionally disturbed, not the other one. And they prescribed me with multiple medications, Adderall, Clonidine, Ritalin, Zyprexa. And I was on Adderall before Adderall was Adderall, okay? So when it was Adderall XR, not the Adderall that all these college kids are taking today.
Okay, yeah.
They have side effects. I was 12 living in Richmond, Rosenberg, and the whole left side of my face kind of like slooped down because of the complications of my Adderall, my Clonidine, and my Zyprexa mixing together was wrong. So my school teachers would always be like, hey man, you know, why you always sleep in class? Why you always sleep in class? It's like, my mom, I'm like, dude, like, you don't know the medication I'm on. Like,
Yeah.
I'm on enough medication to tranquilize an elephant. And I'm trying to stay up and study. So they would always send me to the principal's office, and I would have issues with it. I would have issues there, and then get suspended. So now the foster parent, has to take time from school, you know, from work to make sure that I'm at home, and that's where the extra money comes in because it's like he's a nuisance. He's a problem child.
Yeah.
She's a nuisance. She's a problem child. So we have to, you know, pay them a little bit more. You got some parents that's not what they do. You know, I was with a woman named Katie, you know, right before I aged out. She didn't get paid at all. You know, she took me in out the kindness of her heart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so what she did is the person I was with at the time didn't really give a crap about us. You know, I was running the streets out to about 2, 3 in the morning. One of my old foster brothers, Chucky, was good friends with her son, and I was like a little bit older than him, and I kind of always was like watching him. And she was like, man, you know, why aren't you at home? You know, blah, 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 you know, this, that, and the third. And I was like, man, whatever. So she surprisingly went and talked to my old caseworker and was like, hey, man, you know, I want to be a foster parent. What do I have to do? I don't want to get paid for it. What do I have to do to make sure that these boys graduate high school? You know, so they won't, because if I was to move in with her, they classify me as a runaway if she's not a parent of a state licensed foster parent with their approval. So she got her paperwork and did what she had to do, and she made sure I graduated high school actually a year early. I mean, I graduated at 17.
Okay.
You know, I wasn't supposed to graduate until 2012. I graduated in 2011.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting. So if someone wanted to adopt a child.
Oh yeah. So if you're gonna adopt a child, you gotta pay for that. That ain't free. That shit ain't free. Excuse me, French, but yeah, that ain't free. Yeah. All the that's why, I mean, in my belief, I feel like that's why people adopt foreign kids before they adopt American kids.
Oh, because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easier to deal with it. So you adopt an American child, you run the risk of that person's parents looking for them
Okay.
and trying to get them back, 1. And then 2, it's a little bit more hassle to go adopt an American child than it would be to go adopt some kid from Africa, China, Indonesia, Russia, the countries that most people adopt kids from. Cause that's what you see plastered all over TV is, you know, hey,
Right.
let's adopt these foreign kids, and it's like, you know, why?
I've always wondered that.
Like, why am I gonna go spend my hard-earned money to bring some child from? Don't get me wrong, you know, you got to, you know,
Right.
you got to. But why would I spend my hard-earned money to go adopt a child overseas when I can go adopt a child here in the U.S.?
Because there's a lot of kids here in the
That need it. Yeah, I mean, you got
Right.
the Covenant House that's off of Lovett Street in Montrose, and they those are a bunch of foster kids from the age of 18, former foster kids from the age of 18 to 25.
I have a Facebook question from Miss Mimsy Varela, who I think is actually running to be a
Give me 1
sheriff.
second. Can I reply back to this?
No, go ahead.
Mom, I never said you got paid. I actually said you didn't get paid, which is out the kindness of your heart. This is why I love you. All right, I just want you to know this.
Oh yeah. Hey, get mama.
Yeah, I gotta let mom know, you know, because I still call her mom. You know, she's a Caucasian female, single mother. You know, and she took in 3 black kids.
Mhm.
Okay, myself, well, actually 2 black kids and a Hispanic. Myself, my brother Chucky, and Craig. So she already had 3 kids. Need I to say this? Okay, she's already had 3 kids of her own from the ages of like, I think Devin was 13, Jonathan was like 8, and she had like a little toddler. I want to say Brandon was like 2 or 3 at the time. So she just brought in a 16-year-old, well, actually a 13-year-old, 2 13-year-olds, and like a 12-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So like she just brought in 3 extra kids that ain't even hers.
Yeah.
And she provided for all 6 of us as a single mother, you know, to 3 of the kids. She didn't have to do that, and she didn't get paid for it. So I just want to let you know that,
Well, you know, love don't see no color. So,
Oh no, it doesn't.
so that's a beautiful thing. But Mimsy was asking, do foster parents have any restrictions? Have any restrictions to foster children? How well do they investigate their background? That's a good question.
That is a good question, because I don't know.
Okay.
I know that there is a few restrictions. So certain felonies really, it depends on the kind of felony, if I remember correctly. Just like most jobs, you know. You
Maybe like
have
domestic violence,
child abuse, sexual assault, you know, things of that nature. You know, you can't have those.
Probably
But
certain
like,
drug charges and stuff like that.
depends on how old they are, if I'm not mistaken. I think one of my foster parents actually had some drug charges on their record, but it wasn't a distribution. It was more of a possession. You know, they had it on their person, and I guess in their mind they're like, look, you know, who better to prevent a kid from using drugs than a person who's already used drugs and now they're changing their lives over it. You can kind of see the leeway in thinking that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. The exact restrictions, I have no idea. You gotta go up to the Department of Family Protective Services on their website and actually look at it. It'll explain everything a lot more in detail.
But if they were had sexual assault or sexual abuse, they wouldn't believe that child. So if it was never reported, it wouldn't show. So
Yeah, I mean, well,
Yeah.
you can't vet something that you don't know
Mhm.
and that doesn't pop up. You know what I'm saying?
So if like a foster child was to complain about it, who would believe them?
That's a good question. Because you have some that actually do complain that don't believe, and you have some that actually, you know, complain and they are believed. It just
Okay.
depends. It depends on the caseworker. You know, it depends on who that child went and told. If he went and told the school, if he or she tells the school, they're going to investigate, because that is the school, and the school's going to look back and be like, hey man, are y'all investigating? You know, what's the outcome of this? You know, why is this child with this person? You know, why is this child still with this individual if you guys are doing your job? But as far as like, if, you know, he or she went and told their caseworker, I mean, we want to say everybody's good people, but you know, that's like saying, you know, every cop that pulls somebody over is pulling them over for a legitimate crime.
Right.
You know, for a legitimate reason that isn't profiling.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you were starting to speak on about a program.
So, I kind of been put into a position to acquire a little extra cash than what I've ever thought I would have been. And once that gets settled the way I want it to, I plan on starting a nonprofit organization that, in a sense, it brings awareness to the kids that people every day overlook, and to try to figure out how best to have a home for them when they get out. You know, how to best let them know that, hey, by the way, you know, your college is free. You know, you don't have to pay tuition, you know, room and board, books. You gotta pay none of that, you know. All you gotta do is take one crappy class and get a C or above, and you can be 99 years old and wake up one day and be like, y'all wanna go back to school, and just go.
Okay.
You know, and yeah, that does happen. You know, you have the PALS program. They assist with, you know, transition, how to actually go out and fill out applications, pay bills, things of that nature. You have the Hay Center that actually does the same thing, but there's not a lot of people who volunteer for that. There's not a lot of people who donate to that. So they are stretched in on who they can outreach and touch. They try to get everybody that they possibly can, but you know, Harris County is a county, I want to say, of like 8 or 12 million people. So you do the math on that. We'll just throw out a number and say, you know, out of 12 million people, you want to say around, the average age is 25. I mean, the average age in Harris County, I believe, is 36 years old. So that's around the age of people having kids. So you're looking at 2 to 5 million kids who are in Harris County, and then you want to drop that down and say 30% of those kids are actually in the system or have been through the system. I'll say this: everybody has talked to somebody who's been in the system, or if you talk to a child, you're talking to a child who may actually be in the system. So you know someone, or you've come across someone who's actually been in the system, or actually is in the system, but you don't know it.
Right.
So what kind of counseling is offered when you're in the system? Because I know going from house to house, there has to be a mental strain on a child.
Yeah, so, for myself, I'm only gonna speak on myself. I had a once-a-year counselor. It was a state mandatory, thing that every year I had to go take an IQ test, speak to a counselor, things of that nature, and that's kind of where my medication was prescribed from. They were saying that, hey, due to the trauma of me being taken away from my parents or my mother, I had all these kinds of emotions that I really didn't have. Because in all honesty, I didn't care, because I didn't know who she was. So I was just like, put me in one home and kind of keep me there. But yeah, they were like, oh yeah, you can't, your mind can't stop running and racing. So your ADHD, you can't sit down in one spot. So your ADD, or actually that's flipped. And then because of the emotional strain of you realizing that you're a paycheck to somebody, you're emotionally disturbed. So we're gonna put you on these medications, when all I really needed was just somebody to kind of conversate with. And that's what a caseworker is supposed to be. But a caseworker can't conversate with 20 kids that's on his caseload, or her caseload. And that's 20 kids, plus their duties of the paperwork and the investigations that they have to do with other things that they have to, be brought in. So it's a little difficult,
So do you feel like you was put on medicine that you might not have needed?
I don't know for a fact I was put on medicine for I might not need. All I needed was a good ass whooping.
Okay.
And that's what I'm gonna tell you. Like, the Bible says, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." So there's a difference between beating and whooping, but that's really what I needed as a child, was someone to whoop me, and then sit me down and explain to me why they had to do what they do. Why she went out and got that switch before I got home and put it behind the couch, and then told me to go out there and get a switch just to see what I would do. Which, as we all know about the grandma who do that.
Yeah,
But yeah, them switches, they never broke.
I got a switch plenty of times.
They never broke. That was the thing. Like,
Yeah,
I just tried to figure out. Like, I'm like, all right, cool. This skinny switch don't break. Let me give me a bigger switch, a little thicker. It may break. Yeah, grandma like, okay, I'm gonna use this one for a little bit. Put this one to the side. Grab the skinny one. This one ain't gonna break.
Yes.
And then you ain't gonna be able to sit down for a couple of days. But those parents who do that, if you do it right, after you've explained to them, hey, don't do this, and then they keep it up, and then you come back and you're like, hey man, all right, I just whooped you. Now sit down. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
The issue is that a lot of parents say, well, I do that. But the question is do you do that immediately once that child messes up? Or do you take your time and calm down first, and then discipline that child while you're calm and collected, and then explain to them? Because when you discipline a kid out of anger, I don't care how much you go back to that kid and try to tell them, well, I'm doing it out because I love you. That kid only knows that you just disciplined me when you was mad.
Yeah.
So you did this out of anger. Your only way of talking to me or dealing with me is when you're mad. But if you can be that parent where, okay, Billy, you just messed up. Give me a second. All right, now come on. I'm about to spank you, and this is the reason why.
That's how my mom was.
That's how I was.
And I'm trying to talk my way out of it.
Yeah.
No. Lay across the bed.
Yeah.
Don't get out the bed. lay across the.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would whoop the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And they would never know.
And for the kids like, damn, you know, why she whooped me?
Oh no,
Why
she
hit me?
forgot about it.
Yeah, why she? Yeah, I thought she forgot about it, but like, nah, you know, the proper, you know, I say the good parents, they take their time in calming down because yes, they do get frustrated. You know, raising kids ain't easy. You do get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna calm down first, and then I'm gonna discipline you. Whatever, I'm gonna give you the appropriate consequences for your mess up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spank you for something that doesn't warrant a spanking, but I'm not just gonna put you in timeout for something that actually warrants a spanking either. You know, so the crime has to fit the punishment. I mean, the punishment has to fit the crime. The question is as a parent, which is difficult, how do you figure that one out?
Yeah.
You know.
That makes sense. Mimsy said the reason why she asked the question that she asked earlier is because she said she's seen child abuse, physical and sexual abuse from foster parents.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, heck yeah. I mean, I was living with the home that was in Clinton Park, and I mean, hell, I went to Clinton Park Elementary before they tore it down. But my breakfast was a tangerine. The only time I actually ate real food was when I went to school. You know, dinner was PB&J, and then my foster parent would put me and my brothers inside of a room. She made some real good PB&J sandwiches. I will give her that. And put us inside of a room. And
I'm not laughing.
I
I'm not
deal with
laughing.
trauma
That's
with
I'm
humor.
not laughing at
with
them.
humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, with humor. But when I look back on it, like I be like, man, you know, I probably should be a lot bigger than what I was. But dang, that woman did make some good PB&Js. But she'll put us inside a room, lock the door, and then she had burglar bars. Well, one day, one of my
On
the bedroom door, yeah.
Burglar bars inside
the house on the bedroom door. Yeah.
So
when
if a fire or
came,
something, if a fire broke out, how would y'all have to just jump out the window?
Burglar bars on all the dang on windows, bro.
Wow.
So if the caseworker, when the caseworker came, did they not inspect the house?
Nah, man, you know it's funny because some caseworkers don't. Some caseworkers, all they do is communicate with the child in the living room, and then, you know, hey, is everything okay? The child is so terrified and traumatized because they don't, especially at a young age that I was like 7 or 8. You know, I was like, man, I don't know what to say, so, you know, I'm just gonna look at you stupid. And that's where the whole, okay, we need to send him to a psychiatrist because we think he's emotionally disturbed, which you dang all right I was, you know, like, but that's
what you were dealing with.
Yeah, but medication isn't what I needed. You know, I needed
Right.
someone to talk to, but I can't talk to you when I got this big old woman sitting next to me. Basically just itching, you know what I'm saying, for a reason. So to her question, that's kind of where a lot of, especially in the black community, why a lot of black women become prostitutes and a lot of black men become gangbangers, drug dealers, you know, robbers, and things of that nature. Because of the trauma that they dealt with being with that foster home, they looked out for some love. And the streets gave them love. You know, that's what that was.
They found it in
the wrong places.
Yeah.
You know, so when a kid turns 18, he or she gets out the system, they don't have nowhere to go, but they're rolling with these, you know, these niggas out there, right? And that's who gave them love, okay? And they did what them niggas out there wanted them to do,
Right.
because they showed them the most love that they've ever actually been shown.
Yeah.
So you got women who are prostituting themselves out and they in and out of jail, and they're using drugs because that numbs the pain. You got men out there who are robbing, drug dealing, and things of that nature because that's the lifestyle that they chose, and they homies is what they call.
Yeah.
Is what's showing them the most love. But it's funny because like when you get locked up, where are they at? You know, and I tell you that because I've been to prison twice, 3 times, once in Louisiana, twice in Texas. So you know, it's when I'm locked up, where are all my so-called homies at? You know, where y'all at? You know,
Right.
where my pictures at? Where my visits at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Money
Like,
on your books.
where my commissary? Because you know, soap ain't cheap. You know what I'm saying? Food ain't cheap. You know, the saying goes, commissary is necessary. You know, you ain't got commissary, you gonna starve.
Right.
You know, or if you don't, you better find a hustle. Because if you don't have commissary on your books you SOL.
Right.
You know, you straight up SOL.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna go to a sense of, okay, what do I need to do to survive? I'm not a gang member. Now I gotta choose something. I gotta choose a gang to link up with because they gonna make sure I have food on my stomach. I wake up at 5 in the morning to eat breakfast. I eat lunch at 11. I eat last chow at 3.
Mm-hmm.
So now we don't rack up until 10:30. You know what I'm saying? So your dinner was 3 o'clock. And you just left the whole squad. I'm out there on the whole squad with Aggie, beating up the ground, you know, singing some chain line slave shit.
Yeah.
And my dinner is at 3.
Mhm.
But I ain't got no family out there. But when I was out there, I got all these dudes out there saying, "Oh yeah, man, you my homeboy. We homeboys for life." Or girls, "Girl, you my girl. We girls for life." But now I'm locked up. Where you at?
Yeah.
Right.
You know. And
Yeah.
a lot of those kids, a lot of those men, when I was incarcerated, I figured out that 1 out of every 5 men that were on my run, that was on my block,
Mm-hmm.
went through the foster care system.
That's crazy.
You know.
Mhm.
So the question is like, well, dang, you know, if 1 out of every 5 kids or 1 out of every 5 grown men that's on a 28 cells, 2 cells, 2 manatee cells. So we're gonna say a couple hundred because I don't feel like doing the math right now. Men, 1 out of every 5 men, out of a couple hundred men, we're gonna do 100. You're telling me that 50 of them, I think that's the right math, or is it 25? Whatever.
What, 1 out of 5?
1 out of 5 out of
20.
100. Yeah, my math sucks. So that's a lot of, and you're looking at a 5,000 man unit. So actually do the math.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The
That's-
foster kids, they're 18. You know, hell, I was on the Clemens unit in Brazoria County. You know, that's YOP. That's Youth Offenders Program. So I'm meeting kids. I'm a cook in the kitchen. You know, we serve them kids first. And when I say kids, I do mean kids. You know, like 13, 14, 15, murder, aggravated robbery, you know, arson, real live like stuff that even some grown men don't do. You know.
wow.
Like my celly, and shout out to my boy, but the boy murdered his entire family.
Mhm.
You know, his entire father. He's a foster child. We call him Conehead. He looked like that this white boy. He looked like what's that movie, the Cone movie where all them boys had the cone head?
Yeah,
movie? Yeah,
that's
he
what it
looked
was
like
called, the Conehead.
Oh, okay, cool.